On June 9, 2024, a single sheet of paper that had quietly shaped the world economy for 50 years reached its expiration date. No podium, no breaking news banner, no emergency calls between finance ministers. A deal first signed in 1974 between the United States and Saudi Arabia simply ran out. To see why everyone thought this arrangement was the backbone of American financial power, we have to look back at the chaos that created it. In 1973, oil prices tripled almost overnight. An embargo from Arab producers sent gas lines snaking around city blocks across America and Europe, suddenly handing enormous leverage to the countries that controlled the taps. Into that panic stepped Henry Kissinger. He went to the House of Saud with a specific offer. The United States would provide weapons, military training, and a security guarantee for the kingdom. In return, Saudi Arabia would price its oil in US dollars. Looking at this flowchart, you can see how the mechanics actually worked. Saudi Arabia would take the mountain of money it earned from oil sales and put it directly back into American hands, buying US Treasury bonds and placing deposits in American banks. This return loop was called petrodollar recycling. For half a century, people treated this recycling loop as the unshakable pillar of dollar dominance. Then, the deal officially lapsed, and the dollar did almost nothing. It didn't crash, it didn't wobble. If the death of the petrodollar changed nothing, what is actually holding the dollar up? The answer isn't found in a desert security deal. It's located in a global pipeline of cash that has nothing to do with oil. The first flaw in the legend hides in plain sight. Does oil actually have to be paid for in dollars? The honest answer is no. There is a technical difference between the currency a contract is priced in and the currency you settle the bill with. A barrel of oil can be quoted in dollars on a screen and still be paid for in euros, yen, or yuan, with a quick conversion handled by modern banks in seconds. The dollar pricing was a shared habit of convenience, not a lock and chain. To find out where the real muscle comes from, we have to follow the money. This diagram shows the combined oil surplus for the entire Gulf and Norway projected for 2025. It amounts to around $200 billion. That sounds like a lot until you compare it to the trade surplus of manufacturing Asia, the factories of China, South Korea, and their neighbors. As you can see, that surplus runs to roughly $1.5 trillion. The Gulf's oil money is a stream. Asia's manufacturing money is a river 7 times wider. The situation inside Saudi Arabia completely inverts the old picture. In both 2024 and 2025, the modern Saudi state actually ran current account deficits. Instead of endlessly feeding dollars into the global banking system, it borrows dollars now by issuing its own dollar-denominated bonds. The recycling loop that defined 1974 is running in reverse. The foundation of the petrodollar loop quietly broke down over the years. Oil money is merely a minor tributary. It is not the main engine supplying the world with dollars. The truly enormous pool of global dollars came from a quiet revolution that started back in the 1950s, right here in London. Banks outside the United States began holding deposits of US dollars and lending them out, creating new dollar credit entirely beyond American borders. This became the offshore dollar system, or the eurodollar market. Looking at this macro-scale view, you can see the sheer size of this financial universe. Today, international banks operating outside the direct reach of the Federal Reserve hold well over $10 trillion in deposits. This shadow layer of money is the real plumbing of global dollar liquidity. It answers to no single government, and it dwarfs anything the oil exporters ever provided. But what about the petro-yuan? As the world's largest oil importer, China has every incentive to buy energy in its own currency. They are indeed settling some Saudi oil sales in yuan, but look at the actual scoreboard. This comparison highlights the reality of global reserves. The US dollar still makes up roughly 58% of the holdings in the world's central banks. After years of effort, the Chinese renminbi makes up only about 2%. Other countries remain wary of holding a currency restricted by tight capital controls. A currency you can't freely pull your money out of is hard to trust with your national savings. Central banks have slowly diversified their holdings, and the dollar's overall share has slipped over the past 2 decades. However, a recent analysis from the International Monetary Fund segmented that apparent drop. They found that 92% of the decline came simply from exchange rate math. When the dollar's value fluctuates against other currencies, the measured size of everyone's holdings shifts on paper, even if no one actually sold their dollars. A large part of the great de-dollarization headline is an accounting illusion. The slow erosion of reserve share is a genuine trend, but the impending threat of a petro-yuan is a statistical mirage. Saudi Arabia agreed to price oil in dollars in 1974 for the same reason everyone else used them. The currency was already the most trusted, most liquid asset on the planet. A reserve currency relies on metrics you cannot fake and cannot quickly copy. It depends on the sheer size of the American economy, its openness to trade and capital flows, strong property rights, and the rule of law. If you are a central bank in Brazil or Germany with hundreds of billions of dollars in national savings to park, you have specific practical needs. You need a market deep enough to absorb your money, liquid enough to let you sell in an emergency, and trustworthy enough that the assets will still be there tomorrow. No other currency comes close to offering that combination of safety and scale. The expiration of the petrodollar deal was like removing a single brick from a wall that had long since been reinforced by something far stronger. The dollar's dominance was never about who pumps the oil. The real engine is the deep, boring, almost invisible machinery of trust. No single agreement created it, and no single expiration can take it away. When the world gets scared, it still runs toward the dollar, proving that the headlines had cause and effect completely backwards. If pulling apart how the global economy really works is the kind of thing that makes your brain light up, consider subscribing to the channel. We untangle one of these complex financial systems every single week. And if this video helped the petrodollar finally make sense, sharing it with someone who keeps repeating the dollar collapse headlines might just save them a few bad assumptions. Stick around, keep asking the awkward questions, and we'll keep pulling the system apart one piece at a time.